Hello and welcome to this practice exam. I'm your IELTS practice examiner. My name is TALHA YASEEN. So let's begin. What is your full name?
My full name is Hirani.
How may I address you?
You may address me as Hira.
Okay, and where are you from, Hira?
I am basically from a rural area, the village, and named is Tibihut district, Laya.
Okay, at the beginning of IELTS test, you would be required to provide an ID or passport. But as this is just a practice exam, you don't need to provide ID or passport. In the first part of the test, I'm going to ask you questions about yourself. Are clothes important to you?
Yes, clothes are important for us because it reflects our personality and the way person dresses up impresses others.
What kind of clothes do you usually wear?
I usually wear kameez, that is the national dress of the Pakistan, and well, it depends on situation also.
Do you ever wear the traditional clothes of your country at an event or somewhere?
Yes, I wear traditional dress last time in the party of university. That was a cultural function to reflect the cultures, and I'm from Pashtun, so I dress a ghagra type to reflect my own culture.
Okay. Where do you usually buy your clothes?
I usually buy clothes from big malls because of their good quality, and the clothes are also very beautiful than to buy from the local places.
Okay. Have you ever worn a uniform?
Yes, we wore the uniform when we were in our school and in college also. There were the system that you have to come up with a proper dress and in a proper uniform. So at that time we wore dresses
Okay.
of uniform.
Do most people in your country follow fashion?
Yes, you can say that in our country, most of the people they follow fashions, and mostly they follow the European cultures and their fashions. If we take the examples of the men, they like to wear the pant shirts. If we see from the women's side, then they wear abaya. Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, the people prefer to wear abaya. So we can say that they follow fashion.
Okay, this is the end of part one. Now we are in the second part of IELTS practice speaking test. In this second part, I'll give you a cue card. You'll have 1 minute to prepare it. You can take notes if you want. Then you have to speak on it for 2 minutes. And your cue card is this is your cue card, and this is the pen. And your topic is describe a book that had a major influence on you. Your time starts now. You have 1 minute to prepare the cue card. Start, please.
Well, I read a lot of books in my life because I'm just like bookworm and like to read books in my leisure time. But the book that has a great influence on my life and changed my life was The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Basically, it was written by the Robert Kiyosaki. He was an entrepreneur. The book is about the financial lessons that the Robert Kiyosaki learned from his biological father, who was poor, and his friend's father, who was rich. And the poor father believed to secure the job and work for paychecks. On the other hand, the rich dad, they emphasized on the financial education. After reading this book, it changed the way I think about money And before reading the book, I was just like, jobs are well enough for a good life and a successful life and a good career. But after reading the books, I came to know about the literary, financial educations, literacy, investments, making money through the passive ways, etc. I learned the number of lessons from this, a lot of lessons from this book, but majorly the three lessons I learned was, first one is this: don't work for money, instead make money work for you. But in our so-called society, people are just minded in this way that they have to work for money. So this book guide us to not work for money, instead make money, and money must work for you. Secondly is that we have to take risk and learn from the risk. Our society and our educational system, they guide us to avoid the mistakes. But I do, after reading this book, I personally believe that we not just have to make mistakes, but the most important thing, we have to learn from these mistakes and don't be demotivated after doing these mistakes. Last one was that mindset matters a lot than money. When the poor dad say, I can't afford it. On the other hand, the rich dads say, how can I afford it? So mindset is the main thing that decides our goal. So I think so. Mindset, we have to keep ourselves positive and work for, not for money, but instead for our happiness pleasure. So this was the book that had a great influence on my personality, my life, and after reading this book, this completely changed my life, and I just diverted towards the business. That business is most preferable than doing work for other and to be the servant of other.
Okay, this is the end of part two. Let's move on to the part three. That is follow-up questions. I'll ask you a few questions and you have to answer. Give me this pen and cue card. How often do you read books?
I read books mostly in my free time. I mentioned earlier that I am a like bookworm and read books. Um, so I often read books whenever I am free.
How books can impact on a man's life?
Books have a lot of effect on men's life. If you read the good books obviously have good effect on you, and bad books obviously have bad effects on your personality. So reading books has a great impact on person's thinking, mentality, personality, and also other aspects also.
Name some of the famous writers that you read.
Well, there are a number of writers that I like, but the William Shakespeare is the one I like to read the most because of his writing style. Because he writes stories, tragic stories, and twisted one. Because twist makes a story enjoyable.
Okay. Have you ever thought about writing a book?
I do think so. Writing a book is a good thing, and I personally believe that I must have to write a book on my personal experiences and also on the social aspects that we observe in our society to critique the different aspects of life also. And one of my goals is also to be a writer.
Okay. How reading books is different from watching movies?
Reading books is different from watching movies in the sense that in movies you have audio video, and not you just only hear, but you are also watching the scenes and different scripts, reading it also. But in a reading, there is just, you have to read. You are in imaginations, you can imagine things, but there is no any system like of video or displaying the scenes.
Okay. This is the end of IELTS speaking test. Let's evaluate your test. You were good at fluency. and there was coherence in your sentences. You spoke well. You completed your 2 minutes in part two as well, and you were good at your introductory questions that it asked about yourself. But made a few grammatical mistakes. When you have to use the past tense and present, you intermix those sentences. But your interview was very good. And if you practice a bit more, you can get good bands.